No, all
Okay,
of our,
okay,
all of our
okay.
enthusiasm.
This is Mazzy here. I'm recording now. We just did half this fucking jazz shit number 5, and it wasn't recording. Zoom did a new update, and now it says when you click record, do you want to record to the cloud or to your fucking computer? And I didn't see that, and so we did the whole half of this. So we're gonna improvise it. Jazz shit
Thanks.
5 with Brooks. I'm in Seattle. Brooks is in San Francisco. We don't disparage jazz at all. Jazz shit 5, because in the 70s, Brooks and I were college roommates in San Francisco. We were in the broadcasting department at San Francisco State. We worked in the record store together, and we had a turntable in our living room of our 2-bedroom apartment. Every morning, one of us would rush to the shit. I'm saying everything again. We would rush to the
You want to start
turntable,
over?
and we are starting. We're doing it. We're on. And whoever would put a record on first got to play the first record, in the morning. Brooks, 90% of the time, would put jazz on. So I said, Brooks, you're always putting jazz shit on. I knew a good amount about jazz. Brooks knew more, but I learned. I knew of a different period about earlier jazz. But Brooks turned me on to so much stuff over the years and continue to this day. And we used to go to a lot of shows at the Keystone Corner in the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
So welcome, Brooks.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Good to be here again.
Yeah, I wish I was there.
Shit. The reason I'm wearing my pork pie hat is because of this gentleman, Lester Young, the ultimate hipster. We're doing a CD jazz shit number 5, and what we're showing are collections, comps, basically not necessarily all albums, like what do you call it? Catalogs.
Yeah, right.
But comps with outtakes and alternate versions and posthumous releases and things like that.
Yeah, that's good definition.
Does that work? Is that what we're doing?
It does.
Do you want to say anything about that?
No, I think you covered that pretty well.
Because you said it and we didn't record it already.
Yeah. No, but I think you condensed it down and pretty much what we're doing.
I condensed it.
As opposed to like a box set that's just got like 10 albums, repackaged and maybe remastered.
The official release.
Right. Yeah, official releases. This would be more, what Mazzy was just saying.
Yeah, what Norman Mazzy was saying. Since I totally fucked this up before. Okay, Lester Young. I'm starting with Lester Young because, or otherwise known as Prez, P-R-E-Z or P-R-A-S, depending on.
Z, I think it's Z. Usually
Prez, like Mazzy, like Mazzy with a Z, even though Maslov is with an S. So anyway, the ultimate hipster coined a lot of hipster jargon back in the 40s and 50s. One of the great smooth sax players, relaxed, and I don't mean smooth jazz shit, really beautiful. He wore a pork pie hat a lot. That's why I'm wearing a pork pie hat, not the same style as Prez. He played in the 40s with the Count Basie band, so he really was an important, probably one of the first important jazz sax players maybe who got known on his own, I think.
Well, as far as I guess we could call sort of post, well, the bebop era, I guess. He and later, a little bit later, Charlie Parker, they sort of brought that in, a new style of jazz rather than the sort of old-timey stuff that you think of like 20s jazz, that sort of jump music kind of stuff that's traditional.
Young really modernized it quite a bit.
Yeah,
doing new stuff. I mean, my favorite of this period of sax players are definitely Lester Young and Ben Webster. I'm not showing Ben Webster today, but I just love the sound. I mean, Ben Webster actually has a really nice, you can almost hear the reed, the blowing, the air going through on his recording, which I love a lot too. So, again, a lot of people, I've noticed on the vinyl community, there's a handful of people. There's a jazz shepherd who shows a lot of this stuff, and a lot of people don't. And they always show the Blue Note and Impulse stuff, which is great stuff by all means. We love it all. We've done similar videos. So watch our jazz shit videos 1 to 4 that we show Blue Note and Mosaic and Music Matters Jazz, and just talk about that. So anyway, I'm starting off with this great collection, Verve. Verve was a label that Norman Granz started because he managed Ella Fitzgerald. and wanted to start a label for him. So I'm starting with this.
All right. And following up on that, I'm going to show this box that I recently got, although it came out several years ago. I'm not sure when, 10 years ago, maybe something like that. It's very cool. It's made out of wood with this little marquee, plastic marquee in the front. And as you can see, there's lots of discs in there. There's 5 double discs, so
Wow.
there's 10
Look at some of the
CDs.
artwork. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess these might be original artworks from albums of the time. I don't know them specifically. So yeah, there you go.
Great.
Yeah, it's the very, very, very 40s. Anyway, I'm not going to show all of them, but it's a nice little box set. I picked it up from somebody I know on a jazz message board that I'm in, and they were selling a whole bunch of stuff, and I thought, wow, I need to have that. So it's a nice collection. These were, as it says, complete jazz at the Philharmonic on Verve, 1944 to 1949. Norman Granz was doing shows, which are basically all-star jam sessions, and they would go in, and everybody that was on Verve would, get together and have different configurations of jam, and Ella Fitzgerald would sing, and Billie Holiday would sing, and Charlie Parker, and Lester Young, and anybody you can think of. They were all came to these things. So it's a fun set, and you get the announcements in there too, the very 40s and announcing stuff.
I love that, the introductions and things.
Yeah.
This is a great, amazing book of Verve artwork and album covers, and it's sort of debossed with metallic ink. And what's great about this, if I'm ever stuck on a mountain, I can just send signals.
Yeah.
To send, help me, I'm stuck on a mountain. And if I had this jazz book with me, this Verve book. Okay. Your turn.
Should I pick something else?
Yeah, go.
Okay. Okay. Since we're on the early stuff, we have what I think was one of the first, at least popularized, remastered and nicely packaged CD releases that I can remember. I'm sure there were others, or at least specifically jazz, but it really got a lot of publicity at the time for the amazing remastering and the nice packaging of this, which is the Louis Armstrong complete Hot 5s and 7 recordings. So this is all stuff from,
package.
Yeah, all stuff from the 20s. I'm pretty sure it's all from the 20s, and it comes in this. That was just the cardboard sleeve, but it came in this really nice book.
Talk about a long box, right?
Yeah. It's original long box probably, and it's a bound book.
I think that won a Grammy for
packaging
and historic recording.
It did. There was like so much talk about it, which was kind of unusual, especially for music like this. But they spent a lot of time taking these old recordings and remastering them and making them sound great and not scratchy. And I guess there's probably some new technology with the time this came out allowed them to more easily clean up the sound of the old 78s that this stuff was recorded on.
That's a stunning set, and that reminds me, not musically, but that got people into a kind of jazz they weren't into, kind of much like the Robert Johnson set kind of came out of nowhere. And remember that box set of Robert Johnson on Columbia?
Yeah.
That's sort of shitload of records, and everyone, that really surprised people early in the compact, late 80s, I think, even, or early 90s.
Was that long ago? Oh, okay.
Early 90s. Well, it was early, like one of the first box sets of older material. And it just was a hit. It was selling a lot.
Well, he was so influential in blues and, of course, rock and roll, too. Everybody reveres Robert Johnson.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to show, I think, an artist that we're both going to show. To me, one of the most important, I think the most important early artists of jazz, again, are Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington. I'm not showing now. I've showed him later, but Charlie Parker. And I think you have a different Charlie Parker. This is a complete Savoy and dial.
And this is the same material, but only the master takes.
Yeah, so this will have every outtake. It'll have like false starts, longer versions, second versions. And this year is this fall is going to be the centennial. He would have been 100 years old. One of the most important sax players, one important jazz artists ever.
And this one, as I said, it's just the master takes. There's 3 discs. There's 65 tracks
Wow.
on three discs.
Yeah, I just had Dizzy Gillespie, Miles Davis, Max Roach, Errol Gardner, Bud Powell, J.J. Johnson. Again, so much overkill. I'm not going to even pull the whole box out. I do have a vinyl version of this, which is amazing. But come on, let's get some photographs here. Anyway, they're too small. We get the idea. But also, just at the same time, this is really great. This is the master takes of Verve. So this is Charlie Parker on Verve. He actually had some huge hits at the time because Norman Granz brought him to the studio and brought in a small string quartet. So I think 2 or 3 of his albums are billed, and you can see them reissued, Charlie Parker with strings. Now, some purists don't like it because they think it's too schmaltzy and too over the top, but they were huge
Yeah, it was very
sellers,
popular.
very popular. And it also brought a lot of other jazz artists to do these releases with strings at the time in the 50s. But I love this. This is great. This is all the master takes, and it's one of these boxes that's kind of metallic with it's almost like fucking origami. It's like, to get these open.
Wow, that's a pain. Yeah,
it's a friggin' pain. And what's great about this, if I'm stuck on a mountain, help me, I'm stuck. And if I have this CD box with me,
you could get a helicopter flying over.
Exactly. They say, oh, that's the guy with the Charlie Parker box set.
Yeah.
Great stuff, though. I mean, Charlie Parker, to me, is one of the great jazz musicians ever in history.
Oh, sure.
And we're going to say that about a handful of people here, I know, but love Charlie Parker.
I don't really have a lot to say about this, but it's sort of it's a nice collection, and this is from the Ken Burns Jazz series, and it's basically it's an overview of everything that was in the series, which I can't remember how many parts it was. It was like 9 or 10 parts or something. But this is 5 discs, and it goes everywhere from just really early jazz all the way up through I don't know. I think Miles Davis really is all like the late 60s. There might be a few tracks after the late 60s, but not much.
It's a pretty good introduction. It misses a lot, but it's
Yeah, that was one of the critiques of jazz people I know that didn't like about it was they did kind of stop at the end of the 60s, which was sort of crazy. There was a lot of jazz that happened after that, but at any rate, there's some great footage and some nice stuff, and especially if you're really into or want to learn about Duke Ellington and Louis Armstrong, they spent a lot of time on both of those people in particular.
The genesis of jazz, modern jazz. Yeah.
So anyway,
again, another artist within that older period is one of the great piano players is Bud Powell. This is a Verve collection of Bud Powell. Very innovative at the time, influenced so many artists like, Herbie Hancock, Horace Parlan, all these other
Horace
people.
Parlan. Norman's into Horace Parlan now.
I'm into a Horace Parlan period. I just like that name, Horace Parlan. Eddie Haskell, Horace Parlan.
Wow. Okay.
Maynard D. Krebs. But Bud Powell had, played with a lot of these people, the bebop artists as well. But I think he died younger, didn't he?
Yeah, I think in his 30s or 40s. I don't remember what. He had a lot of problems. I think some mental problems, and he had drug problems. And so his career was really up and down quite a bit during periods where he wasn't able to perform. So
yeah, but this is
when he was great. He was definitely one of the masters of particularly the 50s in particular.
He had just a really nice style. And is he the one? No. Oh, I'm not talking about Horace Parlan here. Never mind.
Okay.
I was thinking about the last 2 fingers weren't working, but that's Horace Parlan. Yeah. So anyway, Bud Powell is part of this early period too that I'm showcasing tonight.
And we've got Thelonious Monk. Everyone knows Thelonious Monk. This is a nice little collection I picked up. There's a lot of collections of Thelonious Monk, but this one's just from the Columbia years, 62 to 68. not everybody thinks that's his best work. Some people think he's better more in the 50s, and I think he was the first artist signed to Blue Note. So um, there's, yeah, some of the earliest Blue Notes are on are Thelonious Monk. And
I love that stuff. And this is
yeah.
this is the one I was thinking about.
Okay.
Monk Alone. And this is 2 CDs of all the solo recordings. Again,
right.
this has 14 unreleased tracks. Again, a lot of these, not all of them. I think the Charlie Parker and Savoy in this, these were compiled and arranged and produced by Orrin Keepnews, a great jazz archivist and producer and A&R man who started what was the Prestige, was it?
Prestige, Riverside.
Riverside, and then that was sold to Fantasy, and he worked on all these reissue projects. An amazing person.
He was. Well, you knew him a little bit, right?
Wide conversations with, because he did a radio show after My Girlfriend in the late 70s every weekend. So literally every Sunday afternoon, he would do a radio show, and then My Girlfriend would go on right after him. But we'd get there early. She'd be pulling records, and after her, he'd be there with his wife, and he would sit there for like 45 minutes talking to me about jazz, or a half hour while his wife was refiling and packaging shit up. But I didn't really realize the gravitas that Orrin Keepnews has at the time, but obviously he's dead now, but amazing producer. I mean, you know,
he discovered all sorts of people.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Actually, I forgot to bring one box, which that reminds me of.
Anyway, this is a great, you know, obviously on the CD world, you've seen the covers of this. And so these, but this is the one that we've all seen. I never liked that cover, but.
Yeah, it's kind of okay, you know.
But what a great artist. His solo piano stuff. There's a great Monk solo in San Francisco, was recorded at Club Fugazi alone without an audience. That's a great record too. I think that's the one with the cable car on the front. He's hanging off the cable car.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, he recorded, there's one or two albums recorded at the Black Hawk, I think, wasn't there? Yep. Also?
Yep.
Which was
I've done, you go to a lot of jazz shows. We'll talk about that a little later.
Yeah. I'm glad you were talking about Orrin Keepnews, because this was one of the things I wanted to talk about in this session, and I forgot to pull it out until just now. It's a box set that came out quite a while ago, probably in the 90s. The Riverside Record Story. And what this is, and obviously it's a collection of jazz stuff on Riverside. It's 4 CDs. Packaging is really nothing special. There's the box, there's some, you know, jewel case discs that are nothing special, and a booklet that's pretty well annotated, but not a lot of pictures. But what's interesting is it's a really sort of a personal Orrin Keepnews collection. It's organized by his different ways, by either his favorites or how do they describe it?
Did he produce everything on it?
Yeah, I'm sure he did. This was a section called Some Major Players. So it's all the big names: Sonny Rollins, Wes Montgomery, Thelonious Monk, Campbell Adderley. Then there's the Art of Collaboration. So there's a few tracks of things together: Milt Jackson, Wes Montgomery. There's Ben Webster, Joe Zawinul, Johnny Griffin, Eddie Lockjaw Davis. The Heart of the Matter, some of his things that were like really described jazz as he was, I guess, producing it at the time. So you got everyone from Art Blakey to Nat Adderley and Benny Golson, and, you know, not necessarily even the big names, but there is Chet Baker, Coleman Hawkins, Milt Jackson. Anyway, so it's an interesting collection of stuff. So it's not necessarily their most popular songs. It's not necessarily the biggest sellers. It's stuff that he really likes, and
so it's sort of an autobiographical take of his jazz career. And
so, you know, it's worth picking up. I mean, it's probably around. It's probably not expensive. I think when I got it, it was already been remaindered. So
my birthday's in August, Brooks. You know when it is, so you know.
Yeah, so it's very cool.
Right, my birthday's in August. Remember that?
Oh, okay. I'll look around.
Okay, I always say this is my favorite. This is the best. This is the best. But this is the best. This is the one Mosaic box. I only have 3 Mosaic sets, and again, look back in the jazz section. I have my videos sorted. There's some sorted by category. There's a jazz section, and look for jazz shit 1, 2, 3, or 4, and there's one that we did at Brooks's in San Francisco on Mosaic. But 18 CDs.
I don't have that one.
The greatest in the world. Every version, every outtake, every take, some false starts. The Nat King Cole trio, the Capitol recordings, amazing. This is not what we did later in the early 60s or late 50s, or at least with the orchestration, that very lush sounding records that sold a shitload. This is the real jazz trio that he did, and with Route 66 and Get Up and Fly Right, or, you know, just amazing music, beautiful, soothing voice, great piano player. A lot of people don't give Nat Cole his due on the keyboards, on the ivories, as they say, the black and white ivories. So good. Look at this, right? Are you a Nat Cole fan?
Me?
You? Who
Yeah.
else is here? Is anybody else here? See, I use this.
Yeah, sure.
It's not
Yeah,
metallic,
really
but if I was on a mountain, no.
Yeah, yeah, right. I don't really have much of his stuff, but yeah, sure.
I'd love to get, yeah, sure, that's it. This is the greatest. Nat Cole, one of the great, I mean, obviously a lot of people know him because of his pop sensibilities in the 60s and
TV show.
Unforgettable TV show.
Right. Yeah.
Cat Ballou, him and
Yeah,
Stubby
right.
K and Cat Ballou. God, fuck, I love that. I remember hearing on the radio the day he died of cancer. Like, my parents were driving me something in 1964, maybe, I'm thinking. I don't know, around.
Seems about right. Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
He died of cancer. And I remember hearing on the radio, and I knew who Nat King Cole was. I didn't really know him as a jazz artist, obviously, but I had seen Cat Ballou and I knew the songs. But this stuff is amazing. There is a vinyl version. I think it's way long out of print that goes for about $900. But
oh, wow.
It's fine.
Our friend has that, right?
Our friend does have that. He found it on a secondary market. But, you know, it's like 27 LPs or something. I mean, this is great music. Perfect music, in my opinion. It's just easy.
Perfect.
Again, easy without being easy listening. It's just kind of, it's soulful, groovy. It's groovy, baby.
It's groovy.
Straighten up and fly right, ziddle bop and fly right. Okay, your turn.
Oh, okay. Let's see, I don't know how to follow Nat King Cole. So, well, we'll do something. Do this. I don't think we've done this one yet. Do you have this?
I love it. I love that.
I think you have this. Yeah,
metallic cover. If I'm stuck on a mountain,
you could signal for help.
Yeah. If I was up there if Leslie West and I were stuck on a mountain.
But yeah, I like that there's that little sort of embossed kind of insert into the cover. It's a nice package. It's, you know, it's sort of a fabric covered box with four CDs, and it's I guess a week or a weekend at the Village Vanguard at
in New York, November 1961, a weekend.
Yeah, sort of a, you know, it had the core Coltrane quartet, but there were other people that came.
McCoy Tyner, Eric Dolphy showed up.
Eric Dolphy and
Elvin Jones, Reggie Workman, Jimmy Harrison. Really great. Before the real avant-garde stuff, but he does India on here. He does Impression, Spiritual.
Greensleeves.
Naima. Greensleeves.
Yeah, it's great. It's really good. I mean, it's extended pieces for the most part. And what
year did Ballads come out? Was that 60 after this?
I don't know. Yeah, somewhere around the same time. It was.
And Brooks and I actually in the mid '80s went together to the Village Vanguard. One of the two great jazz clubs was at the Village Vanguard and the Village Gate in Greenwich Village, the two main jazz clubs. We saw Tony Williams, a great jazz drummer there, when my photographer was photographing him, and he came to our table after, so we chatted with Tony. Wow, the great Tony Williams.
Very cool. Yeah.
This is incredible. This is just this is again. And
Tony Williams isn't on this.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
Okay.
This is
we went to the Village Vanguard.
Yeah, the Village Vanguard. This is what CDs are great at that LPs don't do, because you're not going to want, like, you know, 12-8. You might want it, but a 12 LP set with all the outtakes and stuff. You put CDs on. You can do random. You can pick and choose. You get 40 minutes. This is this whole period of time, the late 80s, 90s, and 2000s, a heyday of reissues on compact discs, especially things like jazz and blues and archival material like that Louis Armstrong set, you know. This stuff's great, and I've listened to this stuff a lot. I put everything on a hard drive, and in my office here I play CDs, not records, and it's just a perfect time for that. So this is great. Did I show? I don't think I showed this time in this version, but if I didn't.
Yeah, no, we didn't.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Dizzy Gillespie, one of the great jazz players too of the bebop era.
Yeah.
That's how he blew. He got that trumpet. So I don't have a picture here of it. That was the horn went up in the air. What was that about?
Yeah. Yes.
You don't know.
I think it was just that he thought it looked cool. So I think that was it. I don't think there was any more to that, but you know, I guess
one of the great creators of bebop with Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie. I was fortunate enough. I said in a few other videos. 78 Monterey Jazz Festival.
Well, there he is with his cheeks, but where am I? There we go. You can't see the horn though; it's sticking up. Yeah, right. He was famous for letting his cheeks puff out. That's like not the right way to play trumpet.
I got stoned with him at the K-Jazz Monterey Jazz Festival. Saw him perform, and he was talking. We passed his joint around. But what a great artist. One of my favorite things he does.
Yeah, and he sang too, which was cool.
He did kind of sing, like Sweet Low, Sweet, what's that?
Yeah.
Famous
Sweet Chariot.
That song, DG Days is a Salvo.
Oh, yeah, that's a great album. Yeah.
Red cover. Amazing record. But you got to show Dizzy Gillespie. All right. Brooksy.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Well, we were talking about the Village Vanguard. There's this record label called Resonance that's been reissuing lots of jazz over the last several years. They've been around a long time, but only relatively recently started releasing all kinds of archival jazz stuff that was taken from radio broadcasts, and I'm not even sure what else.
Rare tape that people have had in like their attic.
Yeah, and they remaster them really nicely, and they put these really nice sets out there. The packaging itself isn't anything special; it's just cardboard. But they've always put a lot of work in. Oh, sorry. They always put a lot of work into it, and they always have really the books are just extensive, like you wouldn't believe.
Well, they're out of LA. They do a lot of record store day thing. They did the Nat King Cole.
There's that Village Vanguard.
Well, they did that Nat Cole here, the transcriptions, that big box set they did last year.
Mm-hmm.
They do a lot of record store day, like Bill Evans. What's his name? The guitar player.
Wes Montgomery.
Wes Montgomery.
Yeah. So there aren't even a lot of pictures in here. I mean, there's some for sure, but I mean, the notes, there's like interviews and.
They're really well annotated, aren't they?
Yeah. I haven't read most of them, but anyway, Thad Jones, Mel Lewis were kind of a groundbreaking big band in the. Well, this was their first show, which was in '66, so that's when they started, and they lasted for maybe 10 years or maybe longer, but for some reason, which was never clear, Thad Jones decided he didn't want to do it anymore and left. And this was a house band at the Village Vanguard. Every Monday night they would play. And I guess Mel Lewis continued it after Thad Jones left. And then, after many years, Mel Lewis, retired. And there's still a big band that plays at the Village Vanguard every Monday night. It's called, I don't remember what they call it now. But anyway, Thad Jones, trivia, was one of the brothers of Elvin Jones, who was the drummer with John Coltrane.
3 brothers, right?
Yeah. Hank Jones is the third one, piano player, really good piano player, but probably wasn't as famous as these two guys. But if you see any Hank Jones albums, there's a lot of them. Really tasty.
The Hank Jones is sort of the Matty Alou of the Jones brothers, right? There's Philippe Alou, Jesus Alou, and Matty Alou. They're the giants, the Alou brothers. So it's very similar.
I'm not sure if he was the oldest one. He might have been. I don't know. He was the last one that lived. He died maybe 10, 15 years ago. I saw him a few times. It's really good.
Okay.
Very tasty. Anyway, so that's our Resonance. I want to just do one more. Well, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I have a couple other of these Resonance releases. Here's one from Eric Dolphy, who played a bit with Coltrane, sometimes together, sometimes not. Sometimes
that's really out there. I have that on vinyl.
Yeah, he played with Mingus up to maybe some of his last days, I think, was with Mingus. And anyway, so this is a Resonance collection that came out a few years ago. Yeah, a few years ago. Anyway, there's 2 existing albums on it, and then a third disc of outtakes. So another thing, heavily annotated, and a lot of work went into putting this together and remastering it and so forth.
They do a good job. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to whitewash this a little bit right now and go to something that some people consider a little smoother, but I love this. Paul Desmond and Jim Hall. Now, Paul Desmond, you may know, played with Dave Brubeck, and was on Take 5, and did the album Take 10, and this is with Jim Hall. It's recordings from the 50s. Great sax player. Some people who are really into jazz get a little snooty about this stuff. They think it's a little too easy or Muzak-y, and it's not. It's really good. It's just, in a way, it has a West Coast sound, I guess, and that you could think with I almost called, Jerry Mulligan and Chet Baker. I didn't, but I have that too, which sometimes people just don't take that stuff as seriously. But I love this stuff. A series of records they did together. They did a whole series.
Oh, so they got the original album covers in there, huh?
Yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah. You put a babe on a cover.
How many discs? How many discs is
that? Size doesn't matter, Brooks. Let's see.
That's right. No, I just wondered. I couldn't tell from I can see now. It's like probably 6, 7, or 8 or something.
5.
Oh, 5. All right.
This is like during the time of Exotica stuff, where they were putting these sort of women, sexy women on album covers. Some of them, and the whole bossa nova thing was happening with Stan Getz and Astrid Gilberto and João Gilberto. I didn't pull any of that too, because I've almost pulled Getz and Gilberto stuff, but I have the box set actually has the intact albums, so it's not extra stuff. But I like this record. It's a nice listen. Again, some people don't. I mean, not that they don't take them seriously, but certainly Jim Hall too. Is kind of an easy guitar sound. I think he played the big acoustic or the hollow body electric guitar. But anyway, there you go.
Wow.
You didn't see that one coming, did you?
No, but it's good because I don't have as much of that style.
That's really. Because you're one of those snooty jazz collectors.
No, it's just
Do you have any Art Pepper?
I don't.
I love Art Pepper too.
Yeah, no, a lot of people do. I can't have everything.
No, you can't. You can, but it'd be hard.
It would be really hard. Trying to think where to go next and follow that one up. I don't know. Actually, here's one I want to do. Just I don't know if it follows that well, but because I wanted to I have 2 boxes of Joe Henderson. Joe Henderson, you may know if you're into the latest Blue Note craze. He's all over Blue Note for most of the 60s. His own albums, lots of other people, but of course that's what they did on Blue Note. They all played on each other's albums, and whoever wrote the most tunes, I think, got their name on the front of the album. So, but what I want to show though, and I have a whole bunch of Joe Henderson albums too, because he was great on Blue Note. Pretty much any Joe Henderson on Blue Note is worth getting. That's a leader one.
Yeah, what this is I'm just showing this as you're talking, because these are the records. It's not what Brooks is doing.
Yeah, right. So this is the box I want to talk about, which is interesting, kind of in the same way that not in the same way, but I find it interesting, like the Riverside box was interesting. It's not a typical collection of stuff. This is Joe Henderson, the Blue Note years, and it's 4 CDs. And what is interesting, and I sort of touched on it a second ago, is that it's not just Joe Henderson highlight, cuts from Joe Henderson albums. It's cuts from albums that Joe Henderson played on Blue Note. So you got all sorts of other great solos that he did, but on other people's albums.
That's kind of the equivalent of like the Eric Clapton anthology and the Duane Allman anthologies, where it might be him with Aretha Franklin or him with the Allman Brothers, him with Boss.
Yeah.
I love that. I love when they do that.
Here he is with Lee Morgan playing. There's a handful of pictures. It's not a lot of. It's also like the Riverside box. The packaging isn't really anything spectacular, but it's just a really good collection of Joe Henderson Blue Note dates. Here he is with Eric Dolphy.
Wow.
And then this other box, which is similar, it's a long box. It's Joe Henderson, the milestone years. So after he left Blue Note, late 60s, early 70s, he spent a lot of the 70s being produced by Orrin Keepnews on Milestone. And so this is a packaging of Milestone stuff. And I think it includes full albums as well as some stuff that he did on other people's albums on Milestone. Like there's a handful of cuts that he did with Flora Purin, the singer, who's, actually did.
Airto.
Yeah.
She's from Brazil.
Yeah. She was pretty popular in the 70s and 80s, and I don't know what happened. She's still around.
She was with Forever with Chick Corea.
Yeah, those are great albums.
Light as a Feather. Those
first two albums,
yeah.
So anyway, it's a nice box, nice collection. It's a little bit different. Its playing was got a little bit more electric in some cases in this, but it wasn't really fusion. It was just a little bit different, and I think his milestone years were not really recognized as well as his Blue Note stuff. But the more you listen to it, it's a really great set.
A rediscovering time. Okay, Brooks.
Yeah.
You know what time it is?
I don't know.
It's metal spine time. Did you pull any metal spines?
I did not. No. Well, we did that. Didn't we do metal spine?
Yeah. Well, I'm throwing a metal spine in this. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
Metal spine, Miles Davis, the metal spine collection. Okay, metal spine. If I'm stuck on a mountain, okay. Metal
Jack
Spine
Johnson
collection. Columbia Records has this whole series. They finished it where they did the complete series of an album or a period. I'm not going to name them all, but they did Gil Evans period, which includes Sketches of Spain and several albums that Gil Evans worked on with Miles Davis. There's the Bitches Brew, which is a complete Bitches Brew. There's the Silent Way, the quartet, the famous quintet with Tony Williams and Wayne Shorter and Herbie Hancock and.
Right, that was that other one. 64 to 66, I think was that.
Right, and then there's every period basically, pretty much of the Columbia. Yeah. Fantastic sets. If you like to hear everything, outtakes and everything. If you want just like there's one of Kind of Blue, and it has kind of everything about that. So if you just want the album, you don't need all.
No, there's
no Kind of Blue.
No.
Isn't it Kind of Blue on something or no? Is it because of Teo Maceo? What is it? No?
Yeah, it's Teo Maceo. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's.
I'm wrong. Mazzy's wrong. Yeah. I'm glad you corrected me because some nod would write down.
Miles Davis didn't do that, Maslow.
Well, I think maybe one of the reasons is I don't think there were a lot of outtakes. I think it was a really relatively quick session. There's a single disc. One of the many times that album's been reissued has a couple of extra tracks on it, but I don't think. And it wasn't assembled like this album you're about to show. So anyway, you'll tell
the
about.
album I'm going to show is a record. The original record was a soundtrack or some music that Miles Davis recorded for a documentary on Jack Johnson, the fighter champion. This is a complete Jack Johnson sessions, number 7 in the Metal Spine series. That's why they call them Metal Spines. You pull these out, and what's great about these, well, first of all, a couple things, and Brooks will chime in here. I love this record. I didn't get it at the time until years later. This is the first studio record that came out after Bitches Brew. It came out in order right after, I think, Live at the Fillmore was in between Bitches Brew and this, but this is the next creation. He goes in the studio and basically they jam out. It's funky, it's rock and roll, it's jazzy, it's fusion. It's not as wild as Bitches Brew, only because we hadn't heard what he did with Silent Way and Bitches Brew. That was new. By this time, it probably wasn't as new, and this didn't do quite as well as Bitches Brew, which was huge. On the original record, it was only 2 tracks, 1 track on each side. Again, Teo Maceo produced this. They did a lot of jams. It had John McLaughlin and Sonny Chirac and Jack G. Jeanette, and who's the other drummer? Two drummers.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it Billy Cobham or Lenny White? Probably one of those guys.
Yeah, and then Herbie Hancock and Chick Corea. And
Yeah.
I mean, they just, and they edited it all together. They cut and paste. It's like cut and pasting in a way. I love this. This is a fucking great record. And I got on the boat of this. I didn't get into this record probably until the last 10 or 15 years. The original record. And then, of course, all the outtakes. And just a really wonderful, like funky, jazzy, rockin'.
Yeah, it's rocking in a lot of ways, especially Right Off, which was one of the sides. The song Right Off, which was one of the songs on the original album, one of the sides. And it's just,
I mean, I don't know, like Sonny Chirac and John McLaughlin, man.
Yeah, right.
I mean, instead of that other horn, I mean, they got these guitars like raving, you know? But anyway, I love this series, and a lot of these have been out of print. And after this, I think the next album, he didn't do an album for 2 or 3 years, and then he did Down on the Corner next. And this Metal Spine series have been out of print, especially Down on the Corner. But right now, I'm not trying to sell you, but apparently I've been reading on the like Hoffman forums and other places. Right now, we're in the end of May, mid-May 2020. These are available again at the Miles Davis store. So get them while you can, especially out on the corner. You have to pay.
Yeah, on the corner was, I remember you were telling me.
I bought mine a
couple years ago.
A year ago, like for $130 used. And now you can get it for $60, $70, which seems like a lot, but not, that's the retail price they were. But this whole series, I have all of them. I don't have the bootleg series as many as you do probably, but I love these. These are amazing.
Yeah, and what's interesting about it is it's if you just looked at the track listing, you'd say, oh man, look at all these alt takes, and like there's a whole side of like Willie Nelson. There's a tune called Willie Nelson, and like I think maybe there's one whole disc that's just outtakes of that or something, which would be like I don't want to listen to that. But the fact is as he was saying, they're it's just jamming in the studio. So even though they're what you might call alt takes, it's just another day of jamming, and then Teo Macero went in and listened to everything with Miles, I'm sure, and maybe other people, and they picked the best little segments of each tune and cut and pasted it all together. And
this is one of those records like Bitches Brew, the Metal Spine Bitches Brew. You put on, you load it up there, you grab some hoop, you smoke some doob, and you just hang out with the buddies, the boys, the women, whoever, and just blast it. You put on like some strobe lights and some lava lamps, and you just get ripped, and it just jam. It's funky, and
I think all the albums of this period were cut and pasted like that. In a Silent Way was that. Jack Johnson was that way. I'm pretty sure On the Corner was probably the same thing. Just a bunch of jamming and cut and pasted, put it back together.
Okay, go ahead. After this, I have one more.
Oh, okay. Well, you mentioned the bootleg stuff. I did bring a couple of. There's a whole series of the bootleg series that came out. I don't know if they're done with those or it's on hiatus or what. They haven't put one out in a while.
I do have those.
It's like 6 or 7 of them out now. I'm not sure how many altogether. These are just a couple of examples, but there's different eras. There's a couple of them with the classic quintet recorded live. There's these two, and anyway, a few others. They're all pretty good. This one here is all the recorded live stuff that Miles did at Newport between 1955 and 1975. So there's 4 CDs, and I think there's like 6 different shows, I guess, that he did at Newport, and they're all on here. So it's pretty cool. They're called bootleg. They're a little bit cheaper packaging, certainly not Metal Spine quality, but there's pictures on the inside and discs, and there's a little booklet, not heavily annotated, but they were a little bit cheaper than a lot of other albums too. And then there's this one, which I'm showing. I think I've only listened to it once. It's called Freedom Jazz Dance, and it's every minute of recording he did for the Miles Smiles album.
I love Miles Smiles.
Yeah, which is an early 60s album. And the problem with it is there are, I don't know how many minutes, tens of minutes, dozens of minutes, or hundreds of minutes of studio talk. So and then outtakes and false starts and
Fly on the wall stuff.
and stuff like that, which is interesting to listen to once, but it's really hard to just sort of put on and listen to, because you'll hear some music and then you'll go for 10 minutes maybe of talking, which then you would have to turn it up to really be able to hear it.
That's
one
record you don't play at that party that you're all stoned with.
Yeah, right. So like I said, I listened to it once and it was kind of interesting, but it's not something I don't think I'm really going to spend a lot of time with. It would probably be good to burn it up, rip it onto a hard drive and
take
then
that stuff out.
put all the best cuts together. Yeah. So this is a collectors only.
You're a collector. Okay, I'm ending up my segment with, to me, the most outrageously, I shouldn't say, one of the most outrageously designed box sets on CD. And I forgot how many, it's like 20, 30, 40 CDs. And it's the only box set that was guaranteed to rust. That's not a Neil Young record. So it's not Rust Never Sleeps. And that is the complete Bill Evans on Verve. It came out later in a regular box. You have to get a tetanus shot before you buy it. The problem with this, it won't be as good if I'm stuck on a mountain, because, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, probably not though.
But first of all, okay, Bill Evans might be my favorite jazz pianist. And he basically started the whole modal sound of jazz on Kind of Blue with Miles. He did that. Dun, 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 dun. And he asked Miles for a writing co-author credit. And Miles basically said, I'm not going to give you credit, but here's $20. And he gave him $20. That's the story. That's the
really? Wow, I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah. So he never got all those royalties from that. I think he did fine, but still. So.
Wow. And I've seen that. I don't have it, but
it's like a little piece of foam that holds these in.
Oh, jeez.
This could cut you.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about that.
Hold on.
And this is Verve. Is this Verve stuff or what?
The complete Verve.
What it is.
Beautiful, beautiful design. All the Verve.
Yeah. Okay. It is Verve.
I don't want to go too many pictures, but you get the idea. Beautiful, all versions, outtakes. I don't know how many CDs is in here, but look. And this is metal. And it's second only to opening that Warner or the Columbia, the side Herbie Hancock block. Looks like a Yoko Ono.
You got to figure out how to open it up, right? How many discs are in there? I mean, is it like 30 or something? Just ballpark it.
Looks like 15 or 16.
Wow. All right.
14.
Hey, the CDs are indestructible. They told us the CDs were indestructible when they came out, right?
Silver platters. Anyway, okay.
You used to have your Stuck on a Mountain.
Exactly, yeah. You start talking while I put this away on your next one. Let's close this out soon. Your turn.
I'm just about done here, so we can.
Okay.
I don't have a lot else going right now. I got this interesting collection. It's Tony Williams' Lifetime. So this is stuff he did on
Columbia?
No. I'm blanking at Polydor, I think. Yeah, Polydor.
I don't have that.
It's like After Miles. There's Emergency. There was Turn It Over. Old Bums Rush. and I think one or two others. I can't think of the names right now, but so this is a collection of stuff from those albums, and those albums are probably all out of print. Emergency might be in print, but anyway, so it has the sleeve. CD was in the sleeve like this. You take it out, kind of, cute, but not necessary. And so yeah, so it's 2 discs. It's got, I don't know, maybe 30, yeah, 20, 25 tracks or something like that, and lots of different people on it. Jack Bruce is on it on the Emergency stuff. No, he wasn't on Emergency. He was on Turn It Over. So I think he's on here. Anyway, Emergency is interesting because when that came out, it was a double album that Tony Williams put out in probably 69 or 70. So the dawn of fusion. And so it was probably around the same time as Bitches Brew. But this was even more electric than Bitches Brew. It was basically a trio. It's John McLaughlin, Larry Young, who's an organ player, and Tony Williams on drums. And it's loud, it's noisy. It's really hard to listen to in a lot of places, but a lot of people credit it with sort of being, whatever you think of fusion, it's sort of, even before Mahavishnu Orchestra, which John McLaughlin was on here, but he created something that's a little bit more easy to understand with Mahavishnu Orchestra after this. But so anyway, so there's 1 or 2 of the tracks from Emergency on here, as well as all those other songs. So it's a 2-disc set, and might be the only place you can get some of these tracks.
I need to get that. My birthday's in August.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Do you have any more?
What are we doing here? Okay. What?
Any more?
Well, actually, I just mentioned Larry Young. Here's a Larry Young resonance set of some stuff that was recorded for the radio in the 70s, I think. Anyway, just once again, resonance with the nice booklets, and there's Larry Young. Revolutionary in a lot of ways on the B3 organ is what he's really known for. He did play piano too, but in his heyday, he was unique. Most organ players sort of fashioned themselves in the 60s after Jimmy Smith, who was sort of invented a certain kind of funky organ style, and was very prolific on Blue Note.
People either love him or don't love. I love Jimmy Smith. I have a box there, but it's all just the actual albums.
So it's that sort of funky bluesy, soulful jazz, whereas Larry Young sort of took in a different direction. I guess he was probably influenced by Miles, and I think he played on one of the Miles albums.
Okay.
Interesting stuff for sure. There's a mosaic box of this stuff too.
I'm going to close out with this book that Brooks and I both have, and I don't know if his is handy. He's probably propping up his phone with it, but it's this.
It is, yes.
Everyone on here. Taschen Books, a great publisher of art books, and they're very inexpensive. Look how thick this is. Jazz album covers. You can get this on Amazon for $16, and it's an amazing overview. I think it's essential for any major jazz collector. All labels, so it's not just Blue Note or Verve. It's pretty much all labels, all eras, and it's just a great. Is that Art Pepper?
Yeah, thanks for telling me about it. I didn't know about it. And then, you said get it, so I did.
He got it, so I go get it. I should have put a link on my channel so it goes through Amazon, so I get like 10 cents for every person.
You should, yeah.
How do you do that? But it's got, the CTI stuff. It's got the Reed Miles stuff. It's got, obviously Blue Note. But it's just really great. $16. I mean, come on. It's like free. It's almost free.
It's almost free.
You'll have 11. You'll have buy it for $16, and you have 1,186. No, how many dollars left from your stimulus check? Buy it.
Yeah, right.
It's not very good if you're up on a mountain and you're stuck, but it's a really wonderful book. And you have a little bookmark here. What did I bookmark? Let me see what I bookmarked. Johnny Hammond. That's weird. That's not intentional.
Yeah. I don't think that
wasn't intentional. But anyway, you get the idea. This is a record I need an original of. So if you ever see this, I don't have that.
Oh. There's actually
There's a reissue of it.
Not a
but-
box set. There's a
Well, I have it on
like a
the
two.
compact disc. I have the
Yeah,
Impulse, the complete Impulse, John Coltrane. But anyway,
right.
so this is the end of Jazz Shit 5, Brooks.
Okay,
Probably
all
might
right.
do it twice
It's
or
been good.
1.5. It was a good one. It was a good one. I hope you guys like it out there. You
We'll
guys.
do another one.
We'll do more Jazz Shits down the line, but the Jazz Shit series will survive. Okay.
Okay, all right.
I thought you froze there. You were like,
Oh no,
like Naked Gun.
Bye.
Naked Gun.